Japan is known for the beauty of its nature, the blooming of cherry blossoms, Buddhist temples, and its unique culture. The people of this country also believe in the existence of various mystical creatures and paranormal phenomena. As a result, the land of the rising sun can also boast an incredible number of legends and myths. In this video, I invite you to learn about the creepiest places in Japan. Enjoy watching. One of the eeriest landmarks in Fukui Prefecture is the old wooden castle in the city of Maruoka. The castle was built in the late 16th century by Shimandate Sadanaga, a vassal of the Ogasawara clan. The structure is a 30-meter tall, 6-tiered tenshu standing on a 7-meter stone base. Inside this base, during construction, a blind woman was entombed. After learning this, it's easy to understand why locals believe the ghost of a woman haunts the castle. This grim story began in 1576, when the Ogasawara vassal decided to build the castle. For some reason, the builders couldn't complete it, as it kept collapsing. Shimandate then decided to perform a ritual called hitobashira, where a person would be sacrificed by entombing them in the foundation of the building. It was believed that such a sacrifice would make the structure incredibly strong and able to withstand any natural disaster. At the time, a blind woman named Oshizu lived near the construction site. After her husband died, she was unable to provide for her 2 sons, so she agreed to become the sacrifice for the ritual. However, Oshizu only consented on the condition that her elder son would become a samurai and her younger son a servant of the vassal. Shimandate accepted the offer, and the woman willingly met her death, forever remaining within the castle's foundation. After the ritual, construction progressed smoothly, and the castle was soon completed. However, Shimandate forgot about his promise and never fulfilled it. Oshizu's spirit was undoubtedly filled with rage and despair, as she had sacrificed her life for the future of her sons, but was ultimately betrayed. Since then, every year in April, the castle's moat would flood with the spring rains. Locals called this rain Oshizu's Tears, and in an attempt to appease her spirit, they created a symbolic grave for her with her name on it. However, this did not help. Although the moat no longer exists, people still claim that on spring nights, they can hear the soft cries and screams of a woman from the castle's foundation. They believe it is the spirit of Oshizu, who still cannot come to terms with the betrayal. Zojo G is a historic Buddhist temple located in the heart of Tokyo. The temple was founded in 1393 by monk Shoso as a sanctuary of the Jodo school of Buddhism. In the 17th century, Zojo G became the family temple of the ruling Tokugawa clan and remained under the clan's ownership until the 19th century. The shoguns of the Tokugawa family were the main patrons of the temple, safeguarding it and willing to give their lives to protect its sanctity. This tradition was established by Tokugawa Ieyasu, the founder of the shogunate. In gratitude to the shoguns for their loyalty to the sacred site, a cemetery was built at Zojo G for members of the Tokugawa shogunate. Today, the temple grounds house the mausoleum of the Tokugawa clan, where several shoguns are buried. The second shogun, Hidetada, was the first Tokugawa ruler buried at Zojo G. The graves of 5 other shoguns, as well as their wives and children, can also be found here. Interestingly, Ieyasu himself was buried at the vast Toshogu shrine in Nikko. On the grounds of Zojo G, there is another popular attraction for tourists, the Garden of Unborn Children. The name itself sounds quite eerie, and being in this place can be unsettling as well, as it contains numerous sculptures of small children. The statues vary in size, from very small to quite large. Each child is clothed, and beside each statue is a small altar where visitors leave items that children typically enjoy, such as candies, fruits, and toys. This area is dedicated to the spirit guardian of all infants who, for one reason or another, were unable to come into the world and live their lives. The Garden of Unborn Children demonstrates a different side of Buddhist philosophy, particularly the religion's attitude toward infants. The Tokugawa clan valued life from the moment of conception, and therefore, There was also a place at the sacred Zojo G temple to honor the deity Jizo, who protected not only newborns, but also those who never had the chance to be born. Hashima is an abandoned island located in the East China Sea, near Nagasaki. The history of this island began in the early 19th century when it was first noticed by fishermen. At first glance, there seemed to be nothing remarkable about it. The island was just a piece of rock, about 6 hectares in size, inhabited only by birds. However, when fishermen began exploring the place, they found valuable coal. After this discovery, they started returning regularly to mine the coal. News of the find reached influential people almost half a century later. The first to build a full-fledged coal mine on the island was the Fukuhori Company, but soon the entire Hashima, along with the mining rights, was bought by the Mitsubishi Company. Thus, over time, Hashima transformed from a piece of rock into an inhabited island. At its peak in 1959, the island had 30 large residential buildings, 25 stores, a school, and 2 swimming pools, and its population reached 5,259 people. Considering that Hashima's area was just over 6 hectares, this island was considered the most densely populated settlement in the world, with a density of 83,500 people per square kilometer. Of course, the coal on the island was not an infinite resource, and in 1974, Mitsubishi closed its mines completely. Just a few weeks after that, all the residents left their homes, and the settlement turned back into an uninhabited island. The only reminder of human presence is the remaining structures. For many years, Hashima was off-limits, with Japanese authorities trying to protect the abandoned personal belongings and other valuables from looters. However, after the island was added to the UNESCO World Heritage List, tourists were allowed to visit a specially designated section of Hashima. But why are people not allowed to explore the entire island? It is said that the reason lies in numerous paranormal occurrences. According to urban legends, ghosts inhabit the island. But where did they come from? There is actually an explanation for this. Between 1943 and 1945, forced laborers were brought in to work in the underwater coal mines, many of whom died under harsh conditions. Amusement parks with rides transport us back to childhood. But everything changes when we find ourselves in an abandoned park. Such a place instantly evokes a sense of emptiness, hopelessness, and even horror movie vibes. At some point, it might feel like a creepy clown might appear out of nowhere, and in that case, we would be in for a grim ending. I believe that almost every country has its own abandoned amusement parks, and Japan is no exception. In the city of Nara, located in the prefecture of the same name, there is an abandoned park called Nara Dreamland. It was founded in 1961 and delighted families with children for 45 years with its rides. The park was once very popular, and during its peak it welcomed over 1.5 million visitors annually. However, in 2006, it was completely shut down. Its decline began in 1983 when Tokyo Disneyland opened, with a sprawling area of 465,000 square meters. It's important to note that there were no such amusement parks in Japan's capital before then, so many families used to travel to Nara, which is almost 500 kilometers from Tokyo for weekend trips. But Dreamland's popularity began to quickly fade, and the park's attendance dropped to 40,000 visitors per year. Even the locals of Nara started opting for family trips to Tokyo Disneyland. In the end, maintaining such a large amusement park became unprofitable, and it was closed. A few years after its closure, the park regained popularity, though now it attracted fans of abandoned buildings instead of children. Soon, Dreamland became associated with various mystical legends. People began claiming to have seen ghosts there, and that the rides would start operating on their own, music would play, and distant children's laughter could be heard. Perhaps this is just a made-up story to attract tourists, but abandoned places like this can certainly become havens for evil spirits and ghosts. The city of Kyoto, located in central Honshu Island, boasts a great number of mystical places, one of which is Madoro Pond. Madoro Pond is known as a place where various ghosts reside, and paranormal phenomena occur. According to one urban legend, the ghost of a young woman lives by the pond. She appears infrequently and only to male drivers, particularly taxi drivers. Those who have seen this spirit describe her as a normal-looking woman in a white dress resembling a nightgown with long black hair covering her face. One taxi driver shared his experience, saying that when he encountered the ghost, he had no idea that she wasn't a living person. According to him, the meeting happened near the Kamo River. That night, the man was heading home after his shift when he suddenly saw a woman on the roadside waving her hand. When the taxi driver stopped, she asked to be taken to Madoro Pond. The man decided to help the woman, not wanting to leave her alone in a deserted place at night, and agreed to drive her there. While they were driving, nothing unusual happened. The woman just sat silently. But as they approached the pond, the driver looked in the rearview mirror and saw that the back seat was empty. Instead of the woman, there was a puddle of water. It was then that he realized he had encountered a ghost. Similar stories have been told by other taxi drivers. Local residents don't know for certain where the ghost came from. Some speculate that it could be the spirit of a woman who drowned. Others believe the ghost belongs to a woman who may have been murdered by a taxi driver or a random man who agreed to give her a ride. Perhaps the spirit is searching for the person who took her life to seek revenge. Fortunately, she doesn't harm those who aren't involved in the crime. The city of Beppu, located on the island of Kyushu, is an amazing place with nearly 3,000 hot springs. The most visited and eerie of them all is Chinoike Jigoku. The name of this spring translates to bloody hell, and it's not without reason. The water is bright crimson, and steam rises above its surface, making the place look like a real portal to hell. Tourists frequently visit the spring to marvel at its fantastic appearance and take some striking photos. Bathing in the spring is prohibited, not because the Japanese authorities are concerned about preserving its purity, but because the water temperature in Chinoike Jigoku is around 80 degrees Celsius, 176 degrees Fahrenheit, sometimes reaching up to 90 degrees Celsius, 194 degrees Fahrenheit. But why is the spring such a terrifying red color? Scientists explain that heated red mud flows from the depths of the spring, containing a high concentration of iron and magnesium oxides. However, the locals have a few eerie legends that offer different explanations for the spring's red color. According to one legend, long ago, kind-hearted people lived in this picturesque area, but everything changed when a small hole suddenly appeared in the ground, releasing scorching air. Over time, the hole grew larger, and one day, an evil spirit emerged from it. The spirit liked the nature around it so much that it decided to stay forever. The people opposed this and tried in various ways to drive the spirit away. This angered it, and it expanded the portal to hell to such an extent that the entire village, along with its inhabitants, was swallowed by it. The spirit couldn't completely close the portal, and ever since, numerous hot springs have appeared in the area, with Chinoike Jigoku standing where the village once was, its waters turning red from the blood of those who were thrown into hell. Near the city of Iwaiye in Shimane Prefecture lies a remarkable place called Yotsuhirasaka. According to Japanese mythology, this is the portal that connects the world of the living with the world of the dead. In Shinto, the first gods created in the form of a man and woman were Izanagi and Izanami. They are believed to have created the Japanese islands, woven from the drops of the boundless ocean dripping from their spear, as well as all the nature on earth. Izanami bore her husband, Izanagi, 16 children, who also became deities of various elements. However, during the birth of the fire god Kagutsuchi, the goddess was burned by his flaming body and became gravely ill. Seeing his beloved wife in this condition, Izanagi tried to help her, but to no avail. When Izanami felt her death approaching, she went to the land of Yomi, where eternal darkness reigns. Izanagi couldn't live without his wife, so he set out to find her. He managed to locate the portal to the afterlife, where he found his beloved. Upon seeing her husband, Izanami hid and asked him to speak with his eyes closed and never look at her. However, Izanagi disobeyed and glanced at his wife, only to find a horrific decaying corpse instead of the beautiful goddess. Izanami was so enraged that she sent 8 hideous women after him. Izanagi managed to stop them by turning his headband into grapes. His mutilated wife became even more furious and pursued him herself. To close the portal to the world of the dead forever, Izanagi placed a giant rock in front of the entrance, one too large to move. To this day, it separates the two realms, the world of the living and the dead. Mythology states that these events took place in the land of Izumo, which is now located in Shimane Prefecture. Based on descriptions, the exact location of the rock was found. In 1940, a monument was erected near Yotsuhirasaka, marking the legendary entrance to the land of the dead. There is a very creepy legend in Japan about the mystical Himuro Mansion, said to be haunted by ghosts. According to the story, the Himuro Mansion is an abandoned house located in a rocky area near Tokyo. A whole family was murdered in this house, and now their ghosts haunt the place. For centuries, the Himuro family practiced ancient Shinto rituals. Since these rituals involved human sacrifices, they had long been banned in Japan. However, the Himuro family believed that if they stopped performing one particular ritual, their entire bloodline would be cursed. This ritual involved the sacrifice of a young girl who had to be pure and innocent, and she had to come from the Himuro family. The ritual was required to be performed every 50 years. If it wasn't carried out, or if something went wrong, evil spirits from a portal located in the mansion's courtyard would escape, and a great disaster would befall the family, haunting their entire bloodline. For this reason, the chosen girl was isolated from the outside world and kept at home. In the year when the horrific murder of the entire family occurred, the youngest daughter of the Himuro family was supposed to be sacrificed. The girl knew about this and had already resigned herself to her fate, but one day, looking out of her bedroom window, she saw a boy and immediately fell in love. She shared her feelings with her older sister, who kept it a secret from the rest of the family. When the head of the Himuro family conducted the grim ritual, the older sister, in despair, revealed the girl's love to her father. This was terrible news because the girl wasn't allowed to fall in love, meaning the ritual had been performed incorrectly. Fearing for his family's future, the father tried to prevent the evil spirits from escaping. That very night, he killed everyone and took his own life. After this incident, residents of nearby villages began reporting eerie occurrences near the Himuro house. The land around the mansion turned red, people heard screams, and sometimes they even saw a sad young girl in the window. But the most terrifying part was that over the years, 7 people went missing near the house. After all these events, people realized that the mansion was cursed and decided to keep its exact location a secret so that no one would ever approach it again. However, this hasn't deterred ghost hunters who are constantly trying to find the mansion, though fortunately, all attempts have been unsuccessful so far. Kotaki Tunnel is considered one of the scariest places in Japan due to the ghosts that are believed to haunt it. Local residents claim that the tunnel's eerie nature is connected to events from the Nanboku-cho period. During this time, from 1336 to 1396, there was a fierce power struggle between the Ashikaga dynasty and Emperor Go-Daigo. The area where the tunnel is now located was a battlefield during that period. The exact number of casualties remains unknown, but there were many. In other words, the land on which the tunnel was built is soaked with blood. It is believed that in such places, paranormal phenomena are often observed. In the 1920s, railroads were built in this area, one of which passed through the Kotaki Tunnel. Historical records show that around 100 people died due to the harsh working conditions during its construction. But that's not all. Interestingly, the tunnel's length is 444 meters. For the Japanese, this number is considered cursed, just as 666 is in many other cultures. So, it's not surprising that the Kotaki Tunnel is associated with supernatural occurrences. It is said that paranormal phenomena have always been observed in this place. But after a woman took her own life in the nearby forest in 1990, locals began noticing even more supernatural activity. If before they saw the ghosts of men who had died in different periods, now they began hearing eerie female screams. Some people even report seeing the ghost of this woman. She is blamed for the numerous traffic accidents that occur in the tunnel. Local residents try to avoid driving through the tunnel, but if they have no other choice, many follow a rather strange tradition. When the light at the other end turns green, they don't drive immediately. They wait for the red light and only proceed when the next green light appears. It is believed that if this is not done, the spirits will invite you to hell to suffer with them. Additionally, while driving through the tunnel, you must never look in the mirrors, lest you see a ghost. On one of the roads in Fukuoka Prefecture lies the Inunaki Tunnel, which locals refer to as a portal to the world of evil spirits, due to the frequent paranormal activity occurring there. Many tunnels in Japan are associated with various mystical stories, often because people died during their construction. Inunaki is no exception. It is believed that several dozen people died during the tunnel's construction. The tunnel cuts through a mountain, and during its construction, part of the mountain collapsed on the workers, leading to their deaths. This incident is tragic and could explain the frequent paranormal activity in the tunnel. However, there is also a legend associated with the events at Inunaki. Local residents believe that a long time ago, there was a settlement in this area where members of a clan practicing horrific rituals lived. One young man in the village was particularly brutal. Like a wild animal, he hunted anyone who approached the settlement, but even these victims weren't enough for him, and one day he completely lost his mind. One night, he broke into the homes of the other villagers and killed them. Since these people participated in gruesome rituals themselves, their souls couldn't find peace and have remained in this place ever since. The ghosts of the villagers, on whose land Inunaki Tunnel was built, are incredibly angry, which is why fatal accidents frequently occur in the tunnel. They are also believed to be responsible for the deaths of the workers during the rock slide. Additionally, in the 1980s, a murder occurred near the tunnel, and since then, people passing through have reported seeing the victim's ghost and hearing cries for help. Today, this place is popular among ghost hunters, while local residents avoid traveling along this road. Abandoned buildings are often associated with mystical phenomena, and the Nakagusuku Hotel, located on the island of Okinawa, is one such place. Locals and tourists alike believe that the hotel is haunted. The hotel was a project of a successful businessman and politician, Hajime Takara. Initially, it was intended to be a luxurious seaside resort, which is why the scenic hills of Nakagusuku, offering panoramic views of the Pacific Ocean and East China Sea, were chosen as the construction site. The hotel complex was planned to include playgrounds, a swimming pool, a water park, a nightclub, restaurants, and even a zoo with African animals. This project was certainly promising, but it was never realized. Takara encountered problems even before construction began. The hills had long been the site of a monka's cemetery, making the location sacred. Takara was advised against building there, but he refused to listen and proceeded with his project anyway. Construction began in the 1970s, and terrible incidents soon followed. The further the construction progressed, the worse the weather became. Several workers died due to powerful gusts of wind. 2 others were crushed by a concrete slab. Additionally, some workers reported having dreams of monks pleading for the construction to stop before it was too late. People began quitting, and eventually, Takara could no longer find enough workers. The contractor also went bankrupt, and in the end, the hotel complex was left unfinished. Today, many unexplained events occur in this abandoned hotel. Adventurers who have visited the site report seeing glowing orbs floating above the building, ghosts of people in 15th century clothing, and glowing yellow eyes peering from under the stairs. Additionally, all visitors to the abandoned hotel mention feeling an overwhelming sense of dread, which continues to haunt them for several days, even after they return home. The residents of Hokkaido believe that the basement of one abandoned house is haunted by the ghost of a little girl. There are many stories about encounters with her. According to witnesses, the ghost doesn't hide from people and can even appear during the day. The spirit of the girl emerges from the basement and then moves to the stairs. From there, the ghost watches anyone who approaches the house. She looks directly into the eyes of her visitors, but making eye contact with her is forbidden. The longer a person looks into the ghost's eyes, the worse they feel. There are no reports of fatal encounters with the ghost, but those who have seen her say that some people fainted after prolonged eye contact. Even a brief glance is enough to cause overwhelming terror. Eyewitnesses describe the ghost differently. Some say that the spirit looks like a normal girl, with flesh, while others describe a translucent figure. Who this girl was in life, under what circumstances she died, and how she is connected to this house remains a mystery. One version suggests she perished in a fire at the house, while another claims she was the victim of a murderer. The story of this spirit attracts many ghost hunters. Many have tried to find records of incidents involving girls, but nothing like this has happened near the house in the past 100 years. This led to another theory explaining the appearance of the ghost. According to it, this is simply an evil spirit that chose to take on the appearance of a little girl to frighten people who come to the abandoned house. Himuro Castle, located atop Himeyama Hill in Hyogo Prefecture, is one of Japan's most magnificent landmarks. Built in 1346, the castle has undergone several reconstructions. However, despite this, it has managed to withstand both bombings during World War II and many natural disasters, which are quite common in this country. Himuro Castle is famous for its beautiful architecture. It is also called the White Heron Castle, as its snow-white roof resembles the outstretched wings of a bird. All this beauty and rich history attract many tourists from around the world, but some come here for a different reason. I think many of you are familiar with and have seen the iconic horror film, The Ring. However, few people know that the plot of the movie is based on the legend of Himuro Castle. This legend tells the story of a young girl named Okiku, who was falsely accused of theft and killed within the castle walls. Okiku was a maidservant to a samurai who was plotting a rebellion against the government. Accidentally overhearing her master's conversation, she told her lover, who was also a samurai, about the plot. As a result, the rebellion never took place. To take revenge, the master stole one of his lord's family treasures and planted it in Okiku's room. He then told the lord that Okiku had committed the theft. In those times, such a crime was punishable by death. Okiku was executed, and her body was thrown into a well on the castle grounds. Since then, every night, the girl can be heard moaning and crying from the depths of the well, counting plates. This well still exists on the castle grounds, and many tourists come specifically to look into it and hear the cries of poor Okiku. In Kanagawa Prefecture on Honshu Island, near the city of Odawara, stands a very eerie building, the abandoned Cun Hospital, where, according to local residents, ghosts reside. The hospital was built in 1996, but was closed in 2002 due to financial problems. The owners decided not to demolish the building, and since then, it has become popular among paranormal enthusiasts. Cun is a 4-story medical center with its own parking lot and a small garden. Inside the building, many items from the time when the hospital was still operational remain. However, people don't visit to enjoy the urban atmosphere of abandoned rooms, but primarily to encounter ghosts. There are several legends explaining the presence of spirits in this place. According to the first one, the hospital was built on land where construction was forbidden, as it once housed a temple and cemetery where monks were buried. This place was sacred. The hospital's owners were aware of this, but business was more important to them. By building on this land, they disturbed the monks' spirits, who cursed the building and now reside in it. The second legend tells that secret human experiments were conducted within the hospital as part of a project. The project lasted 6 years, after which the hospital was immediately shut down, but the souls of those experimented on remained within the building. According to another legend, the hospital is haunted by an evil yokai spirit that can take various forms. Most often, it transforms into a human, but sometimes it appears as a black cat with glowing red eyes. As you can see, there are many mystical stories about this place, so it's no surprise that tourists are drawn to this abandoned building. And that's all I have for now. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell. Your engagement is the best reward for me. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Goodbye.